Welcome to the Act On It Moneywise learning resource. Moneywise has been funded by the Local Giving Foundation, the National Lottery Community Fund, the Money Saving Expert Charity and the Isabel Blackman Foundation. This recording introduces some drama-based activities that teach money management. Act On It drama can happen anywhere. No need for a stage or additional resources. You can do these activities in class or online and work with groups or individuals. We will use drama to explore these topics: income and expenditure, living on a limited budget, undertaking financial transactions, financial information on everyday documents, saving and making a budget plan. There is a section on each topic, and each section contains a role play. By taking part in the role play, you will practically demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of money management. Each topic can be explored as standalone activity. The activities can also support work towards Laser Leap Entry 3 units and BTEC WorkSkills Entry 3 or Level 1 units. We have also included sections on these topics too. We have also included sections on these topics too: comparing bank accounts, comparing charges and interest on different types of loans, and how to access student finance. Act on it, the drama basics. Before we start, here's a couple of things to help you with the drama and role plays. Neutral. We always practice sitting and standing in neutral before we start any drama activity, just as we start with a blank piece of paper before we start a new drawing or painting. Neutral is simply just standing in a relaxed position. If you're leading the group, you can always use the word freeze to stop the action at any point, and then tell the group to sit or stand in neutral. Try starting and ending the role plays in a frozen tableau. A tableau is a frozen picture, like the pose you might hold if someone was taking a photograph. It's really helpful to put a time limit on the role plays. We suggest they are no more than 1-minute mini dramas in which everybody has to say something. If you want to explore these techniques in more detail, have a look at our Act On It Toolkit webinar on the Act On It YouTube channel. So, I'm going to introduce 13 role plays. Each has a different learning outcome linked to different money management skills. There are 2 slides for each role play. The first includes the assessment criteria the group will be able to practically demonstrate in the role play. It also lists the given circumstances for the role play, the setting, where it will take place, and the different characters in the role play. It is a good idea to work with the group to add some more detail to the setting and to the characters. They could give themselves character names and decide more given circumstances, such as their exact age. The second slide includes a detailed scene starter. This tells the group exactly what they need to say and do in their role play. This will initiate some focused discussion and learning. Try to make sure the group include as many facts as possible in each role play. There is also a first line. This means that once the group have formed their first tableau, frozen picture at the beginning of the scene, they know exactly what to say and how to start the role play. Now we're ready for our first role play. The learning outcome is to understand what is meant by income and expenditure. The assessment criteria is to give examples of income and expenditure. So make sure this is really clear in the role play and every member of the group says something and gives their own examples. This role play is set on a Friday evening. The characters are a group of young people. They could be together in the real or virtual world. We say a small group. Groups of 3 or 4 can work best for all the role plays. Make sure that everybody plays a character, somebody different to themselves. Here's our first scene starter. You may find it best to read it out first and then have it up on the whiteboard while the group works on the scene. You could print copies if you've got several groups working on it at the same time. Take time to first discuss the scene starter together and the sort of things the different characters could say. Flesh out all the ideas and think of specifics. What film will you watch? Where exactly will you order food from? As you start to discuss types of income, it's going to really help that you're playing different characters. You can really use your imagination and think of far more examples of income and expenditure. Then it's time to start rehearsing the role play. Make sure you start and finish in a focused frozen tableau and that everybody says something. It will probably take about 5 minutes to rehearse your role play. Once it's ready, perform your role play. Role play 2 also has the learning outcome, understand what is meant by income and expenditure. It's an opportunity to give examples of the income and expenditure of different characters. In this role play, you'll be playing young people who are possibly a bit older and live together in shared accommodation. They could be working flatmates or students living together. The setting for this role play is your kitchen. It's time to sit down and have a discussion about how to pay the bills. Before you start rehearsing your role play, take some time to think about everything the characters will need to pay every month. You may find it helpful to make a list. Your challenge will be to think of some different characters that have different sources of income. Decide in the group who has what income before you start rehearsing. Remember, a character may well have more than one type of income. Once you've performed this scene, you may want to discuss as a group how much income a young person needs to live independently. You could do the maths and work it out. Roleplay 3. Understand ways to deal with living on a limited budget. You will need to identify in the roleplay the possible difficulties of coping on a limited budget. You will also need to come up with ideas of how you could start to cope with one of these difficulties. This scene is set in a family home. Use your imagination as a group to come up with family characters that may face financial challenges but want to find ways to try to make things better. Roleplay 3, Scene Starter. Before you start rehearsing, get to know the family in your roleplay very well. Decide who has lost what income and why. Make sure you are clear what having less income will mean to this family. What household expenses do they have to pay every month? What do they usually spend their money on? The scene starter suggests discussing in more detail ways to deal with having a more limited budget for food. So, make sure you have some clear ideas on this to include in the roleplay. Once you have performed, you could ask your audience how else the family could make cutbacks or savings in their expenditure. Roleplay 4. Know how to undertake financial transactions, such as using cash or using a credit or debit card. You will be assessed on your ability to give examples of different types of financial transaction and where they take place. In the roleplays, you will demonstrate how we make specific transactions, what you actually do when you're handling cash or a credit or debit card. For this learning outcome, there's a series of scene starters and first lines, so that you can explore different transactions. These roleplays can be done in pairs or threes. Read through the scene starters and first lines as a group. Check that everybody is clear how you make the different transactions. Then come up with some more detailed characters. You may want to model each of the role plays at the front and watch how it's done before all trying them out. You can add your own scene starters and first lines if you can think of other transactions. For instance, we haven't written one for paying using Apple Pay on your phone. Roleplay 5. Understand key financial information on everyday documents. We are going to look at a receipt in detail in this roleplay, so it could be useful to photograph a receipt or receipts and put them on the whiteboard. You could then look at the key items on the receipts before working on the roleplay. This roleplay takes place in a shopping centre. Try to think of some different characters. A group of friends, one of whom is old enough to have a debit card and also shops regularly in the same supermarket. First, you may have to discuss what going overdrawn means, when you spend more money than you have in your bank account. Roleplay 5. Read through the scene starter. You're going to need a prop for this scene, a receipt from the supermarket. You could use a real old receipt, make your own, or simply use your imagination and a small slip of blank paper. If you're playing the character of the friend that explains the receipt, be very, very clear about the information you can see on the receipt. What did your friend buy and from where? After performing, you could discuss as a group how you keep track of your own spending and why it is so important to check your receipts and online banking records. Roleplay 6. Understand key financial information on everyday documents. This time we're going to look at the information on a payslip. We've included an example payslip on this slide to help you out. Take some time to look at the payslip and find out about the information on it. In the roleplay, you will need to explain key information such as hours, hourly rate and total gross pay. You can see those in row 3 and 4. You'll need to look at employee and employer NICs, that's national insurance contributions, the net pay and the NI or national insurance number. Roleplay 6. Now to start acting. Decide on your characters first. Think about how the young person starting work is feeling. Think about how it feels to earn some money. There's some clues in the first line. There's a lot of information to explain, so everybody can have some detailed lines to say in this roleplay. The new starter could explain something themselves too. After performing, you could discuss what having a job can help with, as well as giving you an income. Roleplay 7. Understand what saving means. This time, you will need to say clearly in the roleplay what saving means, so make sure you have a look at some definitions and have a group discussion about what it means to all of you. You will need to give some good examples of different ways to save. In this roleplay, friends are in their own homes, chatting together on social media. If you've already performed several roleplays, you could choose to play a character you've used in one of the other roleplays, or invent someone completely new. Roleplay 7. Read through it first and talk through ideas for the scene. As always, use your imagination and be very specific. Who's on tour? And how much are these tickets? Are you going to have to pay for travel too? This is another chance to think about the feelings of your characters. Think about how those feelings will change in the scene. You could discuss and list all the different emotions the characters feel during the roleplay before you start to work on it practically. After performing, you can discuss the other unexpected expenses people can face, good and bad. What advice would you give to a friend to help them save up for things that really matter? Roleplay 8. Know how to produce a simple budget plan. In the scene, some friends will help one of their group make a simple budget plan that outlines their income and personal spending, or expenditure. If you haven't done this already, you could spend some time making a simple budget plan or exploring some of the apps and resources that are available to do this. If you've worked on Roleplay 2, you could use the same characters in this roleplay. Roleplay 8. Read through the scene starter. This scene might take a bit longer. Actually really make the budget plan during the scene. Make sure you talk through all the details. Start with clearly stating the friend's income and how much they have to pay on their rent and bills and essentials like travel and food. You will also have to think about all the other things they might like to spend their money on and how much they can really afford. You could also start to discuss if we really need all the things we buy. What things are our essentials? What small changes could you make that could help with your own budgeting? Roleplay 9. Compare different bank accounts. Number 1. This scene is set on the sofa at home. A pair of brothers or sisters are playing on the Xbox or PlayStation. The older one is telling their brother or sister about different bank accounts and the different types of card they might offer somebody their age. Online information and or leaflets from different banks about the accounts they offer for children and young people will provide the background information for this scene. Roleplay 9. Read through the scene starter. The younger brother or sister wants a card to buy things online, but really doesn't know what this means. Some banks will offer younger customers a debit card. Others will only provide a cash card. The younger brother or sister needs the difference between the two cards explaining. Find out what different banks offer and how much interest they could get from different savings accounts. You could also discuss what the right age is to let a child or young person have a debit card and why. Roleplay 10. Compare different bank accounts. Number 2. Now we try a scene set in a bank. It's an opportunity to start to act out being a little older and try to imagine what sort of big purchases young people want to make in their late teens, early 20s. Again, information from banks on the different accounts available will really help with this scene. You could make a list of the pros and cons of different accounts, looking at things like ease of access to savings and the minimum deposit required. Roleplay 10. Read through the scene starter again. This scene is an opportunity to practice asking the bank specific information about different accounts. Prepare the questions that the two young people will ask the bank worker. Make sure whoever is paying the bank worker is also prepared and has the information on different types of accounts ready. Discuss what information is most important to the young people in this scene and why. Roleplay 11. We move on to compare charges and interest on different types of loans, and this is the first of 2 roleplays. For this scene, we stick with the young person in the previous roleplay number 10. Now they need to look into borrowing the money to buy the car. They can't wait to save as they need it for work. They are looking at their options with a trusted adult. Again, you could look online for information to include in this scene. The Money Saving Expert website always has plenty of up-to-date information. Try out the Money Saving Expert online loan calculator on the website. You can just input the amount you want to borrow, the APR and the time of the loan and see how much you will repay instantly. You could use this in the scene. Read through the scene starter for Roleplay 11. When you work on this scene, it is crucial that the characters discuss options with different interest rates. so that it is clear how this impacts on the amount you repay. It can make a huge difference. Take the time to do the maths, or use the online calculator on moneysavingexpert.com. As a follow-up, you could discuss who or where individuals could go to for sound advice about borrowing. Roleplay 12 is our second roleplay comparing charges and interests on different types of loans. This scene also explores just how much it can cost to borrow money. In the scene, Christmas is coming and the pressure is on in a group of friends to spend on expensive gifts. This scene is a real opportunity to explore the many ways that you can borrow money. You can try making a list of as many ways as possible to start with. Think of everything. Look at online and face-to-face borrowing and list the pros and cons of the different types of loans available. Work out the repayments again. Roleplay 12. When you're reading through the scene starter and giving out the roles, make sure every member of the group can talk in detail about one way to borrow. They will need to know details like interest rates, repayment terms and possible penalties. When you've done the scene, discuss what could happen in the future that could make it difficult to repay a loan. This is also an opportunity to discuss the reasons for borrowing in this scene compared to the reasons in scene 10, when the young person really needed a car for work. What items is it really worth taking out a loan for? Think about the difference between wants and necessities. Our final roleplay, number 13. Understand how to access student finance. This scene looks at the different loans and other support available to students and addresses the money worries many prospective students and their parents or carers may have. You will need to look at websites with information on student finance and loans for fees and for maintenance. www.savethestudent.org has some clear information. The scene is also an opportunity to look at specific universities or courses and any bursaries they may offer for particular groups of students. For instance, bursaries for care leavers or the Student Nurse NHS bursary. Roleplay 13. As you read through this scene starter, you will see that the young people in the scene will really need to have found out some information on student loans. They need to be able to let the parent carer know about the loans available for fees and maintenance. They could show them information on how much parents or carers are expected to provide depending on their income. Again, you'll find this information online. After all the money talk, you could discuss the wider benefits of going to university. Good luck with the role plays. That's all the role plays. We hope you found them useful. If so, we've more Act On It resources available. For instance, you can buy your own copy of the Moneywise book with more details on all the activities in this webinar on Amazon. You'll also find our other published resources. Here's our website address with links to some of our resources and our YouTube channel and other social media. Do get in touch if you've used the resource and found it useful. It's great if we can tell funders how our resources are being used. Thanks for taking part in Moneywise. We hope you found the role plays useful. Here's some more info on Act On It. We've been using our drama-based approach since 2004 in the UK and Sierra Leone. We're passionate about taking drama off the stage and using it in everyday settings because we know it engages, teaches and communicates ideas. We're committed to developing training for other professionals to use our methods and resources, so do get in touch if you're interested. This resource, like all our performances and resources, was created through work with the young people it's aimed at. We remain an optimistic social enterprise and sell our training and resources to support our work with the people that need it most. Our mission is to be good at what we do and nice along the way.